San Diego chapter of the Fulbright Association is very excited to be here today at the San Elijo Lagoon Nature Center. My name is Khalid Tahboub. I'm serving on the board. Previously, I did my Fulbright scholarship at Purdue University. I'm studying electrical and computer engineering. And currently, I'm working at Qualcomm San Diego in the field of machine learning and computer vision. Here with me today is also Rachel Stern.
Hi, I'm Rachel Stern. I'm also a board member at the San Diego Fulbright Association chapter. I've been proud to call San Diego my home for the past 4 years, and I served my Fulbright in Spain studying my MBA at IE. And we're excited to be here today. Unfortunately, we couldn't bring a whole group of you here due to COVID, but we're here safely getting a virtual tour with Ranger Beth, and I'd like her to introduce this beautiful lagoon to you guys.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Beth Dirksen, and I work for San Elijo Lagoon County Parks. We administer this 1,000-acre estuary here between Solana Beach and Encinitas, and are really excited to be at the end of our 2-year Reviving Your Wetlands project. There were multiple phases of it. It was financed mostly by the half-cent Transnet tax, and so lots of different phases happened to restore our estuary. It's kind of in sync too with the Transnet Highway 5 expansion, and so that was a great thing that restoring an estuary happened as a highway was expanding. You know, it was wonderful. And so the project had multiple phases. During the first phase, they widened all the channels. An estuary over time has soil that usually, and runoff and things that comes into the estuary, and then cleaning that out is a really important thing for the health of the waters in the estuary. So
Actually, sorry to interrupt you, Ranger Beth. I'm just going to bring the camera closer to you so we can hear you better as well. Okay. I'll be the camera person from now on.
Back behind the camera.
I feel like I wish I bought a new mask, but I wish I just had something that was easier to talk through.
Yeah,
I feel like I want to pull it down the whole time. Yeah.
No problem. And we can also like back up too if you want to speak at all with without a mask.
I think it's fine.
Okay.
I mean, it's the look too to have.
Yeah,
right,
to have so people visiting
know
know to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are we looking at?
So we're looking at the last phase of the estuary restoration. The first phase was to widen the channels, so 70% more water comes in. And so here, this is at the mouth of the estuary. This is an important part where the water flows in. Our estuary also flows all the way underneath Highway 5 and has the other half of it all the way in through there. So getting appropriate water flow into the estuary was a really important phase of this project. And so 70% more water means more dissolved oxygen. That's the bottom of the food chain, and so the whole chain from that facet of the restoration up means healthier food webs, more food for all the mammals and birds, and so making more water come in was an important first phase. They lowered the level of the estuary by taking out a lot of the buildup that had occurred over the decades. So I'll get into an important part of where you'll see a lot of extra soils in the distance. That will become a least tern and a snowy plover nesting beach. Mm-hmm. And so they took into account things like global warming and how the sea will rise over time. Like there should be a good 70 years of, no matter if the tides rise, the estuary will be in perfect health. And then also they took into account all the different endangered species that also relies heavily on the estuary, and special accommodations were made for them.
And how specifically do they do that? Is it lifted up a foot, or is it just the particular soil that's used to make it?
During the first phase, they used like cranes and equipment to widen all the channels. Okay. And they also dug out a whole bunch of the of the wetlands. You can kind of see where this area looks scraped, a little bit lower, and so they made areas higher and lower.
Okay.
And then now it's been a year and a half, right? And so things look very green because they grew in that quickly. But contouring the height of the estuary was an important part of the first phases. And so they dug what's called an overdredge pit. So in the first phase, they did 4 beach restorations, and they took the soils that they were taking out were all healthy and clean, and they used those for beach restoration. Where you see the cranes in the distance, we call that the overdredge pit. And that pit at one time, a year ago, was 40 feet wide and 100 feet deep, or 100 feet wide and 40 feet deep.
Wow.
It was a huge, just open water area. And then all the extra soils from the other side of Highway 5 and from around here were put into that to fill it up. Now in phase 3, when we're at the end, they'll let that settle, they'll add more soils, and that will become the least tern and snowy plover nesting beach.
Great.
And other shorebirds, of course, will love that also. And it'll have the correct plants. So least terns and snowy plovers are endangered because they nest on beaches. And of course, beaches are places that we love, right? And so dogs and human interaction with their nesting chicks are something that they'd like more privacy for. And so they'll have this great open area, which is what they want. Raptors are one of their predators. And so snowy plovers and least terns on their nesting areas like to see distance. They like to see the raptors coming from far away. And so also they'll plant just the right beach plants for their babies to hide under. So they want a little bit of cover, but not too much cover. That's like the perfect least tern nesting beach.
Do you have least terns here now, or is this with the restoration you expect more?
So we have least terns that feed here regularly, and there are least tern beaches all up and down the coast. Sometimes they nest in I'm not sure how much nesting happens, but they are, and they use the west basin on the other side of the train trestle here, and then they feed in the estuary too, and in the ocean. But so this area will be specially for them. Yeah.
And what are those little flags we see out there?
All these little flags.
Yeah.
So the third phase is to replant the estuary in the different habitat types. And so every single little flag you see goes to a plant that belongs in this type of habitat. So in Celia, California sunflowers are planted there. Pickle grass, alkali heath, all sorts of different really beautiful plants are on all the flags that you'll see. And in the third phase, what they also did, so people can enjoy and learn more about the importance of estuaries, is they made a path that goes all the way around the central basin. So right now we have to drive to trails on the southern, where our trails on the southern side of the estuary. But pretty soon people will be able to do one big loop all around the central basin.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I did the southern part of the trail. It was really cool.
Yeah,
Definitely recommend that to everyone as well.
yeah, it's a really beautiful and unique environment.
Yeah.
So great for our trails are great for families because they're all level. And also we usually have the nicest temperatures in the county. So when it's hotter inland, lots of people come to visit us.
Absolutely.
And enjoy the beautiful habitat.
Yeah, and it being so close to San Diego and the highway, it must be very accessible. Do you get a lot of visitors throughout the year?
Yeah.
How about this, this building, the Nature Center? Can you tell us a little bit more about the things people can see when they visit here? I think we saw Franklin and Sophie as well.
We really enjoy our San Elijo Lagoon Nature Center. It was built originally in 2009. It is a LEED certified building, and so people can learn about green building practices here.
Oh, nice.
We have solar power.
Oh, yeah, right there, right?
Yeah. Recycled water runs the restrooms. There's a lot of innovative things like in the garage, denim, ground up denim jeans is the insulation for our building. And so, yeah, it's fun to come and learn about environmental, futuristic green buildings, because the future is here.
Absolutely.
And the need for it is great. Also, we do a lot of education programs here at San Elijo Lagoon. Please come and visit us and see our live native animals. We have desert tortoises, a variety of snakes and reptiles. People can get up close to our displays. We have a great watershed exhibit and lots of fun things to do. Our Nature's Hide and Seek is our most important, is our funnest kids thing. And so come bring your family and enjoy.
And it's fun for adults too.
And fun for adults.
Kids of all ages.
Yeah.
And it's open and safe during COVID. So
Yep.
you have lots of nice signage throughout.
Yeah, we're open now. Our hours are 9 to 5. And the parking lot's open to 9 to 5. We get a lot of birders in the winter and photographers, sunrise and sunset. It's very easy to access the habitat without the parking along Manchester is fine, and then people can come in and out if they're going to be earlier or later than 9 to 5. And so it is accessible all times of the year and all times of the day.
Is there a best time to visit that you recommend, or for all times? Good for different reasons.
Yeah, I like winter because it's migration time.
Oh,
So
yeah.
here at San Elijo, we're on the Pacific Flyway. That's a very important fueling spot for birds as they fly both north and south. And 1/3 of all bird species actually migrate through San Elijo.
Oh, wow.
So shorebirds and waterfowl, they'll be going from a little bit south of here up to Alaska and back. The songbirds, they'll be going from a little bit north of here down to Central America and South America and back. And so it's like a great time for migration because you're getting the crossing of the, winter is like a bonus here.
It's a great international exchange for
right.
birds, and the Fulbright is for people.
That's right.
I think we can also see the loop here, right? So this is is it like a 1 mile trail right next to the Nature Center, isn't it?
Yes, the Nature Center right next to it has the Nature Center Loop Trail. You can make it into a mile, and it has a loop within a loop. It's great for families because it's flat the whole way, and it's sunny and more exposed out here to get a better view of the estuary. But as you go around our boardwalk, that's covered with willow, and so it's shady on the Nature Center loop as well. You'll see things along the loop like our watershed display, and kids can squirt water to see how our watershed works.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and we have a native garden, and the birding and the photography is great on the Nature Center Loop Trail.
That is awesome.
Should
Cool.
we take a walk and
Let's do
stretch
that.
our legs a bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the estuary restoration is really kind of a crown jewel for estuaries all over the world, because humans love to be living in the same spot. They sort of get used and abused in ways, and they're so very important because they're sort of like, they're thought of like the kidneys or a liver for the land. Estuaries do really important filtering of pollutions and extra sediments.
And it's where the ocean water is meeting fresh water as well.
Water.
Yeah.
So here, our ocean, the water comes in from the ocean here underneath the bridge. During the 60s, 70s, the pressures were Highway 5 cutting the estuary down the middle, and this is a train trestle. All really important things, but tough on an estuary to be able to do its normal functions with, with things blocking it. Normally beaches would get restored every year because a storm would come in and flush the soils that had accumulated in the estuary out to the ocean, and that would replenish the beaches every year. But if there are things blocking that natural process can't happen. And so for decades we've been doing that manually.
Wow.
And so the mouth of the estuary for at least 20 years, every October, normally November, was opened up so that the water could flow more easily. And so having the restoration finished is going to be an amazing thing.
So what is that? I don't know if we can see
So
it.
I think it's a willet. When willets fly, they'll make a distinctive 222 call, and you can always tell a willet because they'll have black and white wing bars. I see what I think is a curlew, kind of to the left and down. But during the winter time, we're starting to get birds migrating now in the fall back to the estuary, and then by the time winter happens, it'll be full bore. You know, the majority of our species will be here.
Have you noticed improvements since the restoration began? Or?
So right now things have just kind of shifted around. Like it used to be the nature center was the happening spot for all birds. But now they sort of shifted to the south side of the estuary.
Mm-hmm.
And so once kind of all the work gets done, then they'll sort of decide what the best spot is. Because as the estuary has changed, what depth of water they like has changed too.
Okay.
And so yeah, they're always finding like what is, and the tides change the water level every twice a day, you know, and so they have a lot of options.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so things are shifted around, but I'm sure that kind of we'll see more numbers as time goes on.
Nice. And in terms of the water level, so different parts of the lagoon here has different levels, right? Can you tell us more about that, please?
Yep. So the tides change multiple times, and one of the important features of an estuary is that they can help absorb water, like say there's a storm. They're a critical buffer for protecting the habitat that usually humans are living on a little bit inland from the estuary. They filter pollution. They also are a very important nursery area for our fish populations. So normally fish will come into the estuary, lay their eggs, they'll spawn here, and then grow to be large enough to be able to live out in the ocean. And so that's an important part of the food webs that are inside the estuary.
So not only does it protect the plants and animals living here, but it protects our habitats
Yep,
in
our
the built
wider,
environment. That's fascinating.
Yeah. You can see some of the native plants that they put in the third phase of our restoration. We have golden bush, isocoma. It's really beautiful. I love that it's blooming here at the hottest time of the year. You know, it's such a great plant that way. And then also encelia. You can see California sunflower was put in, and that can be really hardy too.
It's very nice.
So the different species were considered when they put together exactly how to do the restoration. We have a little bit of cordgrass here that you can see. California cordgrass was planted in areas for the endangered ridgeway rail. Ridgeway rails within the past couple of years got their name changed from the light-footed clapper rail, and that's an important endangered bird that's had lots of help restoring. They here in San Diego, the light-footed clapper rail, now the ridgeway rail, have had a breeding program where our different organizations would raise clapper rails and then release them all up from San Diego County into Orange County. SeaWorld, the zoo, Orange County Water Board were all involved in this very long-term project. And so clapper rails are really they're interesting. You can hear them.
What do they sound like?
They sound like. So sometimes you hear them more before you see them. They are really elusive. You can be walking around an area like this, and all of a sudden you see a clapper rail head pop up. But yeah, they're really fun.
I'll
And
keep
they,
my eyes peeled.
yeah, they can also travel long distances. Like now with the project where they are being, grown, they're being raised in captivity and then released to the wild. They, of course, document them, and so some of the birds are flying between all the way from Orange County down to here and back again. And so they're not really thought of as a bird that would travel long distances, but they can if they want to. So clapperels are an important species that they considered when they were planning the restoration. Least terns are a shorebird that travels a long way. They migrate down to Central and South America and back again. They're like just a small little bird. People say they look like a butterfly as they're flapping in the air. They're really, really cute. And then because of our use of beaches, that has sort of, because beaches are such a used environment, that's the main reason that they're endangered. And the same with the snowy plovers as well.
So what can people living and working in San Diego do to help preserve beautiful habitats like this?
I would say that the most important thing that individuals could do is to volunteer. There's so many different volunteer opportunities. There's lots of things to do for all interest types. I mean, people could rehabilitate animals if that was what they were interested in doing. They could work at, they could volunteer for county parks if they were interested. They could, plant trees and pick up garbage. Beach cleanups are a great thing for people who feel like they don't have a lot of time. But just my message to everybody would be, a lot of environmental groups and a lot of places are really happy for just a few hours a month. So it's not really it doesn't have to be a lot of time to make a difference.
It's wonderful.
And then of course there's always donating money, right, for the people who have no time and want to make a big impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you can see here, this channel was widened. You can see where the cordgrass has been planted and is coming in now. It's amazing to me how quickly the native plants can grow back again. So this area here that's lower now, because that's kind of where it should be, was the same height as the green area that you can see here to the left. But it doesn't take any time at all for it to restore. And so this will be the nesting beach. This will be the beach area, and it's a little bit protected, so it will be a great spot for future avian species.
And we see it right now. They are actually working on phase 3 as we speak, right?
Yeah, that's what the cranes are for.
When is that expected to be done?
So COVID has sort of altered the plans for things, and we're thinking fall. It seems like fall.
Oh, nice.
But like since it's a 2-year project, it's kind of like a season is when the due date is rather than a specific year.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the cormorants are very happy with the restoration. Lots more fish species are
is that
here.
one out there?
And so the cormies are definitely one. If you're saying, do you see expanded use of the estuary by the animals? These cormorants hang out normally on the wire that's right at the estuary, and they're thrilled with all the additional fish that have been coming into the estuary so far. Also, we had a harbor seal come in.
Really?
Just recently, yeah. And that was never, a harbor seal would never investigate and come in and eat inside the estuary before. And here's a great egret.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cormorants are one of the few seabirds that their wings actually can get wet. And that helps them with diving because they're waterproofing, and the air that would normally be trapped inside their feathers doesn't keep them buoyant. So they can dive deeper, and that's one of their adaptations. But you see how that cormorant came right out of the water and he's drying his wings right away. because bird feathers, they take a lot of care to keep bird feathers in good shape. And so that's why you see the cormorants sitting with their wings spread all the time, is they're drying their wings. And he'll probably groom a whole bunch too. Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, who's this above us? Oh, here's an osprey up in the air. So we have ospreys are one of our raptors in San Elijo Lagoon. They eat fish. They're mostly an estuarian bird. What's really fun to watch is that if they can even get really big fish. They'll dive down and pull up fish that seem like, wow, they should be too big for the bird itself. But how they fly long distances with their fish is they will position it in their claws facing forward like they are. And so they'll fly and have their fish
More aerodynamic.
so it's more aerodynamic. It's fun to see. There's a gull.
It's neat with all the contrasting sounds of the animals and then the human created sounds. But there's lots of restoration projects going on up the coast of California, throughout the country and throughout the world. Are you sharing best practices? Are you learning from each other? Is this a really great example for others to learn from across the globe?
I think so. Yeah. And every time a restoration is finished, it helps add to the science. Like I know there have been estuaries 2 or 3 around here that have been restored recently, and so there's been contact with that. Also, the construction company that's doing this restoration project has done the other restoration projects, so they also have less of a learning curve on exactly what to do when. They're kind of like good at the techniques that it costs. Like at the beginning of the restoration, everything was really, it looked uncomfortable, and there were a lot of cranes, and it looked like development. And so that was kind of an important part of doing this project, was letting the public know that this isn't a construction project that was happening inside their estuary. Because at first it was really, everything was torn up, and it looked like a lot of people came into the nature center thinking, oh, you're not putting a hotel in here, are you?
Throughout history, have they tried to develop this area, or has it been protected?
Yes, the Native Americans lived around San Elijo Lagoon for about 8,000 or more than 8,000 years. They did a lot of things to kind of keep the habitat healthy. Then in the 1800s, in the Mexican and the American periods, farming happened around the east side of the lagoon, because it was really like great soil for farming. But then every time you take out the different habitats, you take out the salt marsh or the freshwater marsh, then you're hurting the estuary. Can't process and can't function the way it should. So in the 1800s, little things started happening, like they would build dams and levees and smaller. For the history of San Elijo Lagoon in the 1960s, then they proposed large development projects. Which would have taken out most of the estuary. So the community at that time gathered together and said, okay, we need to protect the estuary. And they raised awareness, and they were able to stop the development projects. Then in 1981, the San Elijo Lagoon became a state ecological reserve. And so now, as an ecological reserve, it has additional protections than just like a normal reserve or open space. There's no biking, no wheels inside the estuary.
Can people run here for exercise?
And people can do all sorts of enjoyment, but just not Horseback riding is allowed on the east side of the estuary, but biking or other wheeled, pursuits for here, because it would be really easy to run over reptiles and run over the animals.
Is this a fig tree?
I
No.
think it's a sycamore.
Oh, okay.
It looks, the shape of the
this
leaves
is a
are
beautiful
similar.
Yeah.
path with all the
Shaded,
the
yeah.
willow.
coverage.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so even though we're an estuary and normally it's open,
Mhm.
this habitat is dominated by willows, and so it's a nice cool, it's a nice cool spot to kind of get out of the sun and enjoy the habitat. This willow area by the nature center, the hummingbirds love to nest in January
Oh,
through
nice.
March, and you could walk down this strip and see 6 or 7 hummingbird nests. We have Anna's hummingbirds, and then Allen's and shoot, the other one that interbreeds with it.
That's great.
Yeah.
All different treats to come back and explore at different times of the year.
Absolutely.
You go
Absolutely.
this way? Is this
If you want to, yeah.
or
Yeah.
Or this is long. It's a little bit longer, but walking through the woods. This is prettier probably, and we'll see butterflies and
which one's longer?
this one.
Or do
But it's not long. It's like what we just did.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Can do that.
So what's great about the Nature Center Loop Trail is that it has lots of different ecological niches. So we have the saltwater estuary, and we're looking at salt marsh here. We have an area that's coming up on our left that we call the duck pond. And the duck pond is freshwater, and it's seasonal, but it's a really great place for the American widgeons and mallards and all the waterfowl to raise their babies. We usually see a sora, which is kind of special, living in the duck pond as well.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
What time of year did you say?
Winter, yeah. So in most parts of the country, like spring is March, April, May. But here, our breeding season for the birds, because San Diego is so temperate, is early. And so bird breeding starts January here in San Diego. And so wintertime, yeah, is the best time of year here at San Elijo.
Great.
Yeah. So the duck pond right now is dry, but during early spring there would have been a lot of additional water too, because of the rain and water.
Do you notice times during drought really impacting
The flow of it.
yeah.
When it dries out is kind of different depending on the year. So how much rain we have and continue to get will be how soon, in May or June that it actually is dry. But it's still a great place because of the marsh grasses for different birds to use. So yeah, this is great habitat.
So, Beth, what's your favorite part of being a park ranger?
What I'm most proud of in my career is that I help protect the habitat that's home to all our flora and fauna. To me, that's what makes me really proud that this is what I do for a living. It's really important that the next generation has
Absolutely.
a San Diego as beautiful that we have. And so, like what Rachel was talking about, what can the community do? What can we do? It's really important that we all take some part and preserve San Diego. Such a beautiful place.
Of course. Yeah,
Absolutely,
thanks for
that's-
doing your part.
Absolutely, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
It's
have
fun. It's
do you have a
fun.
favorite park in the San Diego area, or a
Well-
favorite national park across the U.S.?
So, of course, San Elijo is my favorite
Yeah.
park.
Ours now too.
Absolutely.
But living in the Southwest is there's such a full range of what gorgeous park do you want to go to this
Yeah.
vacation?
Yeah.
You know,
Very
I just want-
diverse landscapes as well.
yeah, yeah. Like we love to go to the California parks, to Sequoia and Yosemite, and then go to Utah and all their gorgeous parks. It's just like such a great
Yeah.
place to live.
No shortage of great options.
That's right.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah, Zion is great at Christmas time. I don't know if anybody, you know, like maybe people after COVID will want to do more traveling.
Yeah.
But
I think
the
everyone's
lodge-
waiting to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lodge is open during Christmas. It has a great Christmas dinner. To drive to Zion and to the canyon is easy. Even like during winter, like
great.
the snowy parts of it are.
Huh.
Like usually it's protected inside the canyon.
Isn't that better?
Where is it?
Right there.
Oh yeah, right here.
Swallowtail.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is like butterfly zone.
Nice. I stayed one time at the lodges in Sequoia National Park, and
Yeah.
it was quite amazing.
Yeah, I
Really
went to
nice.
Yosemite during the winter, and it was beautiful.
Oh wow, that's such a great
Yeah.
time,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So did you have any trouble driving around?
It wasn't easy to drive around, but yeah.
But it probably was great, not a lot of traffic, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not the same crowds you get during the summer.
that's right.
Yeah. We're very lucky to have so many accessible, beautiful parks.
Yeah.
Definitely appreciate people like you dedicating your careers to making sure they're
Yeah.
accessible
No,
for.
it's very
us.
fun, very
Yeah.
fun. So Rosie boas are really, really gentle snakes. They are one of 2 boas that are in San Diego or in the United States. They are more of a snake that lives underground than other snakes. Rosie boas are considered sensitive, and one of the reasons that they're sensitive, that's their endangered status, is because they are so docile and such great pets that a lot of people just pick them up and take them home. But of course that's not allowed. And then habitat loss is another really important factor in why Rosie boas are endangered, or have a sensitive status. They come in slightly different colors. The coastals are more beige, and as you get more inland, they can be more reddish. Also, some of them, like the Arizona coastal Rosie, the Arizona Rosie boas, can be more beigey than Rosie.
And
But-
what should you
but-
do if you see one of these on the trail?
So if you see a Rosie boa on the trail, it's fine to stop and look and kind of enjoy how beautiful they are. You can tell rattlesnakes from boas, or from king snakes, or from gopher snakes. First of all, by the shape of their head. Rattlesnakes will have an arrow-shaped head, where you can see Rosie's head just blends right in. She has no real neck. That's obvious. And then to look for a rattlesnake, look for buttons at the end of their tail. And you can see Rosie has no buttons at the end of her tail.
Thanks, she likes you.
Yeah.
I think so.
Rosie's very friendly.
Yeah. I'm starting to like snakes more now.
Yay.
That's awesome.
Do you want to wear her as a boa?
That's okay.
She is a boa. Yeah.
So this is Sophia.
So this is Sophia.
And what
This is
kind
Sophia.
of snake is she?
She's a king snake. So king snakes are another local snake, which are a really important part of the habitat. They eat mammals mostly, so mice don't overrun our ecological systems. They can be really friendly too. King snakes are called king snakes because they are immune to rattlesnake venom, and they're thought of as king of the snakes. And so if a large king snake met a smaller rattlesnake, the rattlesnake could potentially become its dinner. King snakes are beautiful, aren't they?
Yes.
They can be banded. So Sophia is banded. You can see that her stripes go around her body, and they can also be striped. King snakes stripes can also go longitudinally down their body. And they also can be like chocolate and beige like Sophia is, but also be darker or lighter in color. So they have lots of variation.
Beautiful.
Yeah, she's beautiful, isn't she?
Yeah.
She is.
And they can get really big too. I mean,
How big can they get?
Sophia's probably 6 feet. But you know, so they can be bigger snakes than the Rosie boa.
She is 6 feet. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see how big she is compared to Rachel.
Who's
Wow.
taller? I'm not 6 feet.
Pretty close.
Yeah. So I guess she's only 5 feet. Yeah.
Hi, Franklin.
Hello.
So Franklin is a desert tortoise. He's a Sonoran desert tortoise. They live across the lower southwest in the drier, arid regions. A lot of people have desert tortoises for pets. Many people brought them into their homes before it became illegal, just to take them from the wild. And now retroactively, people are getting permits because you need a permit to have a tortoise like Franklin at your home. So a desert tortoise, Franklin, could live to be 100.
Oh,
How
wow.
old is Franklin?
Franklin's 26. So he's got a ways to go.
Yeah.
But one of the things that people who have desert tortoises always have to think about is who's going to take care of my tortoises after I
The
pass
succession
on.
plan for a tortoise.
Yeah, and a lot of tortoises are in people's wills.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They're excellent diggers. And so a lot of times people have them in their backyard, and then all of a sudden a tortoise will like go free. And so they'll get out of people's yards and like start to wander. They're excellent diggers. That's an important thing to know about them. Like for our pen here, we have a really tall layer of chicken wire underneath, so Franklin did try to dig. Also, if you have a desert tortoise, it's important to bring them in at night. Desert tortoises are delicious according to raccoons and coyotes and other predators. So like here, Franklin comes in every night and then he's just out during the day. And so it's less
Oh.
time if he were to get into trouble.
Can you find desert
That's
tortoises out on the trails? Or?
So here at San Elijo Lagoon, we're a little bit too west for them
Okay.
because they like drier. If we did find a desert tortoise, I mean, it could happen, but it would be an escapee from somebody's home.
Okay.
And they like drier climates.
Mhm.
For pet tortoises do live in areas like here where it's more coastal. One of the things that people have to be careful about is to just be really aware. They can get, if it's too moist where they are, it can be bad for their lungs. And so, just bringing your tortoise to the vet and making sure they get a yearly vet check is just kind of important. And then desert tortoises too are adapted to a very, very arid, low nutrition environment. And so desert tortoises in the wild are eating very scrubby, dry, brushy, low nutrition diet. So when they become pets, a lot of times they're getting foods with too much sugar, too much iron, too many nutrients, and their body isn't able to handle it. And so, like Franklin can eat a strawberry, but since it's so high in sugar, he can't eat as many as he wants to. And so looking out for the nutrition of your tortoise is kind of an important thing for keeping a desert tortoise healthy and happy for 100 years. Yay! Desert tortoises are endangered because of habitat loss. Also, roads across the desert are something that they don't understand and aren't adapted for. Here in our desert, the desert tortoises, there's a virus also that will hurt them. And so, they face different environmental pressures.
I think he's ready to go.
Yeah, he's ready to go for a hike.
Yeah. Desert tortoises can be really active like Franklin is today, or they can be really inactive, and desert tortoises hibernate during the winter or brumate. And so all our local kids are so excited when Franklin wakes up in the springtime because they've been hoping, they've been coming to see him during the winter and hoping that he'll be
wow.
up and awake.
Wow.
Yeah.